The Jaguars declined Taven Bryan's fifth-year option, and there is still a gaping hole at tight end. May 3rd was a deadline for all first-round picks in 2018 that did not get cut by their teams to be able to get a fifth-year option put on your player. And a fifth-year option is essentially an extension of a player's rookie contract. It gives them a fifth year of exclusive rights where the price tag is a lot higher and all the money is fully guaranteed. And the Jaguars are one of the few teams that did not pick up their fifth-year option on their player, and that was Taven Bryan. And now, it was no surprise to Jaguar fans that Taven Bryan did not get his option picked up, as he really has not been very good for the Jaguars. Since being drafted number 29 overall in the 2018 draft, coming off of an AFC Championship game run, Taven Bryan has played 3 seasons. He actually has not missed a single game, which is one of the few good things about him. But other than that, 48 games, only 41 solo tackles, as well as 3.5 sacks. So he's basically been a non-factor on the Jaguars, and we very rarely see his name. And the only time we really notice him is if he just looks kind of stupid out on the field. And it's unfortunate because Taven Bryan, I mean, you look at him and he has so much potential. He really does. I mean, he's very strong. He pushes his blockers around, but he does not have very good football awareness at all. His football IQ seems to be extremely low. He doesn't really shed blockers very well. And at the end of the day, after 3 seasons, he's had pretty much no impact. And it's unfortunate, obviously, when you throw a first-round pick at a player like that. But declining this fifth-year option saves the Jaguars $7.36 million in 2022. So obviously, it was a pretty easy decision not to pay him, as those are pretty much the only options. So the Jaguars in the whole fifth-year option history, they've only picked up 2 players' options, and neither of them have actually played on the fifth-year option tag. That was Blake Bortles, who actually signed an extension before this went into effect, and also Jalen Ramsey, who was obviously traded before the Jaguars were actually able to use him on this fifth-year option. Now, Taven Bryan, I do think he is at risk to actually get cut from the Jaguars with the addition of Roy Robertson Harris. We also got Malcolm Brown via trade. Got some guys in here in the draft. And I just think at the end of the day, his production just hasn't been there. Even though Urban Meyer did state that he wants him to be a part of the team, I just don't think he's very good, and I think ultimately he does get edged out. And if the Jaguars do wind up cutting him, the Jaguars save $1.1 million against the cap while taking a $2 million dead cap hit. So Taven Bryan's fifth-year option is declined. Next up is a very popular topic amongst Jag fans, and that is the tight end position. The Jaguars had a huge hole at tight end going into free agency, and it didn't really get addressed very much, at least not in the pass catching category. We signed Chris Manhertz, who's been more of a really just run blocking type of guy, coming in running situations, not much of a threat in the passing game. And then the draft came about, and we all said, okay, we got a big need here. We really didn't do much. I mean, we drafted Luke Farrell in the 5th round, who that doesn't really move the needle much for me, and he's actually been known more as a kind of a run blocking tight end. So the Jaguars essentially have a hole at the position, and even Urban Meyer and them had addressed that and said that, look, like, you know, we still have a hole here. We're going to need to do something to address this. Now, the only really thing the Jaguars can do at this point is make a trade for somebody. Now, we got to kind of go through the different trade options now. One might be David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns. If the Jaguars were to trade for him, it would be $6 million against the cap, and he only has 1 year left on his deal. There's also Zach Ertz from the Eagles, who has a $12.7 million cap hit. You know, the Eagles were openly trying to deal him during the NFL draft, but no team really took the bait. So I think it's more of a thing where maybe a team doesn't want to take on $12.7 million for a 31-year-old tight end who has a lot of mileage on him. And he's obviously not the tight end that we've seen in the past with, in 2017 when Carson Wentz was throwing him the ball. Also, O.J. Howard with the Buccaneers has 1 year left on his deal. He's due $6 million with the Buccaneers. And there's also the big thing, I think, that would be potentially at play for the Jaguars is Atlanta Falcons tight end Hayden Hurst. Now, Hayden Hurst is only due $2 million this last season, as he's coming up upon the last year of his rookie contract. In 9 games in 2020, he has 521 yards receiving as well as 6 touchdowns. He was actually traded from the Ravens to the Falcons in 2020 for a second-round pick. So this one, it's all about... This one's a really tough one because obviously all these players outside of Zach Ertz really only have 1 year left on a deal, and all the Jaguars can really do, all we can trade is draft capital. So it's a tricky situation because you sit here and look, do we want to give up like a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick for a guy that has 1 year left on his deal? I don't know if I would, but the thing is, the Jaguars, I don't know how much of a need, how much of a gaping hole the really Urban Meyer and them say it is. I think that they say, look, we need to probably get something in there, and they can look at the roster and say we don't really have much there. But how much of an importance is this? Obviously, in free agency, we all know Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, they both got signed to a pretty decent amount of money, pretty big deals with the Patriots. But the thing was, there were other tight ends we could go after. I mean, Kyle Rudolph didn't go for that much, and Kyle Rudolph went from the Vikings over to the Giants. The Jaguars made no play at him. Also, there's Gerald Everett from the Rams who got re-signed by them, and I don't know, it's tricky with the Jaguars because we could have addressed this without giving up draft capital. Like me personally, I'm probably too conservative. I like my draft capital. Why would I want to trade? I mean, going back, if I could do it again, I would probably kind of give up on Campbell and, our 2nd round pick out of Georgia, and I would probably go for Freiermuth at that spot. It still hasn't really sit with me all that well about the signing of Campbell, or the draft pick at Campbell of number 33 overall at cornerback. I don't know, but I would have gone Freiermuth at that spot, but that's just me personally. So, you go around and look at it, and is tight end as big of a need as the fans really think? I don't know, but we'll have to see what's at play. But I think the most realistic possibility here is Hayden Hurst. And another good thing about that is they just drafted Kyle Pitts, so I don't know if they feel like, he's going to be kind of outcasted on the offense a little bit. What would you guys give up? I would not give up anything more than the 3rd round pick for Hayden Hurst, especially next year when our draft capital gets to normal. We don't have 2 1st round picks, 2 2nd round picks, 2 4th round picks like we do now. We have pretty much 1 pick in each round. So a 3rd round pick for me is way too much to give up for an average tight end that has 1 year left on a deal. You know what I mean? I would rather pick up a cheaper tight end in the draft and develop him and do all that stuff. But obviously the Jaguars have a hole here. I think that there's a few different options that the Jaguars can do here. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Let me know what you guys want to do with the tight end spot. Obviously, it's a big debate. Another guy we can kind of probably throw in here is Evan Ingram from the Giants. He has 1 year left on his deal, but I don't know. All these things, it seems like it's a little too rich for me. I would give up a 4th round pick at most for any of these guys, but anything other than a 3rd round pick, I am backing out. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know. Please drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. You guys watched the whole video. Really appreciate that. You guys can subscribe to the channel for the best source of Jaguars news on the YouTube platform. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at UCF_Jaguar. And you can become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month for exclusive channel content. Thank you guys, and go Jags.